I'm so
Wow,
okay.
you're more nervous than I usually am.
It's just a thing. It's just
Words,
words.
script,
Words are
words is
hard.
hard.
Words is hard. Okay, so we're Colt and Ange, and this is part of Love, the channel devoted to helping you find the love you deserve. If you've ever had questions about love or dating or relationships, and you just feel like you can't find the answers anywhere else, then hopefully we can help you here.
And I'm not talking about in that pink rose-colored Instagram filter way. I'm talking about the real deal. And this is coming from a couple that's been together for over a decade. And we've been up, we've been down, we've been all over the world, but we're putting it all out on the table.
If you are new here or for whatever reason are not already subscribed, please tag that subscribe button and please feel free to leave a comment and a like if you dig the content. Okay, let's get into it because I'm pretty excited to talk about whatever we're talking about today. That said, what are we talking about today?
The first step to a better relationship with your partner is creating a better relationship with yourself.
That one. I want to talk about that.
Yeah?
I love that you talked about that. And because I never get on Instagram, I didn't see it. So I apologize.
Oh,
about
no,
that.
don't worry about it. I actually shared like a story of ours about it. But if you aren't on Instagram or you didn't see it,
or you're me. Sorry.
The quote
I'm
that
so
we
sorry.
did. Oh, please. I'm not, you know what? I have this love hate with Instagram. We all know that, but it's necessary and it's a good tool sometimes.
For sure.
So either way, I posted this quote today. That is something we talk about a lot, but it was on my heart today. So the first step to a better relationship with your partner is creating a better relationship with yourself. And I think that we both have had like a cajillion examples of that in our lifetime and our decade plus together. And what I wrote about was something I've talked about a lot, but at a time where I sort of lost my way within our relationship and we were fighting a lot, which is odd for us, you know, ever. But we were fighting a lot and it was very emotional and it had nothing to do with us. Like it had literally nothing to do with us. It had all to do with the battle that I was fighting within myself. And so I just wanted to like kind of open up the forum to that because that's not always the case if you're fighting in a relationship. Obviously, there's a million directions that could go in, but if you haven't explored that avenue, that is like start there.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just want you to keep going because I actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll kind of recap what I wrote about and I've had it happen a couple times with us. And it really was mostly early on, I think in our major growth spurts of our relationship. And as that happens in your early 20s, that's normal. But
because of exactly what you wrote about.
Right.
Because you're growing, hopefully, as a person, as an individual, by leaps and bounds. You're facing entirely new situations you've never been in.
Right. Totally.
And then you're suddenly in a relationship with somebody else while you're doing it.
Yes. And it's like you, even when you're choosing to grow together, you still have this, like, you're literally not going to grow at the exact same pace together. So there's always this like pain that you feel when you have like growth spurts at different times. And, you know, the goal is obviously you will play catch up, which we always have, but sometimes it happens at like uncomfortable times.
I think that before we even get into the main topic is like the first section that I would want to tackle of this concept is that ladder that you're using each other as stepping stones. You're using each other's growth. And it breaks my heart when I see relationships and couples that undercut each other's growth and progress as if your progress is not my progress.
Yes.
As if your wins are not my wins, and vice versa.
I'm glad you're saying that because what I'm about to share and what I shared today for my main example might
I get it?
No, it might seem like if you don't really listen to my words, that like, oh, I was just jealous or, oh, I was just this. And if anyone truly knows us, like, I am your freaking, not just your cheerleader, but like, I mean, to a fault, your success is my success.
Yeah.
And vice versa. because if you know what goes into building a life with someone and building a career with someone, it's all intertwined.
I think I genuinely do think that the most easily accessible aspect of that is that building a life with someone. It does have to be that thing. It's all encompassing, but it is so specifically shared. And
yes. And you never make me feel like I am also not a part of
thank you.
Any project success, whatever it is that you're doing, because you know that it is ours that we've bred. And sometimes one of us happens to be more in the spotlight for the credit of it all, but like you know that what went into it.
100%.
So you never make me feel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to know that now. I don't think I did a good job of that early on. I know I didn't, as a matter of fact. And no, just because I did separate it and I didn't see it this way. And that's why I want us to talk about it, because it's not something that is acknowledged. We don't all acknowledge that. Like for me, and I don't know what story you don't used. I genuinely didn't see the Instagram post. I'm not just trying to like make a cool part to the video.
I just laughed like a giddy little girl, but this drink is actually fabulous.
Yeah.
This
what is that? What's in yours? Is it
you made
just
it.
making sure it's
he put cinnamon sticks in our bottle of whiskey and then like made a maple old fashioned with it, and it's like I would pay any amount of money for this.
I'm not gonna lie, it's really great. Cheers.
Cheers.
Also, I was trying to be cute and like grab it with my mouth and then turn it down, but I put my lip on it wrong and then just like poured it into my mustache now. Yeah. Now I smell like cinnamon and old fashioned. Get in there.
That's a baby.
This video brought to you by Christmas eventually. So what was I talking about? So let's say the Try video and the Pink tour. Just because those were very specific things that
this is where I was going.
Oh, fucking A. Well, then.
So this is the time period. If you read the post, regardless, I'm talking about just because it's a very easy example for our relationship, and I'll let you go from here. But like one of the largest growth spurts of our relationship and of our lives happened while you were in the Pink tour.
Yeah. Well, it had to, because and the largest one, I would say the single largest one, happened right after it because of.
Yes.
But we keep saying the Pink tour and the Try video. If you don't know, I was a dancer and performer in Pink, the pop star's Try video, our music video for her song Try, and we performed on the American Music Awards and the Grammys and a bunch of things. And then I went on tour with her on the Truth About Love tour. And what happened after that changed our relationship and changed my life. And we got married during that tour, and we moved the wedding and we did all sorts of things. And I am sad to say that I did absolutely nothing about our wedding. No. I'm just like, the truth be told,
as far as the planning,
I just said whatever you want, just do it.
Let's give a little bit more of a reference. Prior to that, we met on Broadway.
You can check out our love story of how we met up here in the corner. Boop.
And we fell in love, and we're New Yorkers, literally and at heart. And I think that that was an interesting shift, like for the first time in our relationship and in our life. Like we were sort of exposed to a new side of the business and a new way of life. New business, literally. I mean, they are entirely different industries. And the way that tour was for you on Pink was not something I was like, we didn't, not just me, we didn't
neither one of us knew what that was.
And so tour,
or how to deal with it.
And tour in my mind means like, it's on Broadway. It's a family affair, you bring the whole kit and caboodle, and both are paid very well and taken care of, but it's just
and that was a family affair in a very different way. I will say that, like,
And both are beautiful things, but I just didn't really know what we were diving into, but I was unbelievably proud of
Of
you.
course.
And it was such a highlight
Yeah, we were
in
so excited that
your career and in our life.
that it was
And
happening
yes.
because of what it could lead to and what it has led to.
Oh my gosh, of
I mean,
course.
our entire life has opened up because of that. But I did lose myself in the lack of understanding about the differences in the business and I mean, being away from each other is one thing. Being in Germany for a month and calling you every time I got out of, the show, and you being asleep for 3 hours already, no matter how long you had stayed up, that was hard.
Yeah.
What was much harder is that when I would come home, I wasn't me because I had lost so much of myself.
Yeah.
And you and I had done so much work on who we were as individuals. And then I can only imagine what that was like for me to then come back after being gone for 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever,
Right.
and just be like, hey, I'm totally different now.
Right.
I've decided without you that these are things that I like. But
well, I'll say this, and again, to give a little more framework, it was like
I'm so sorry.
no,
I keep giving these broad strokes,
no,
and you're like,
that's okay. So it's like we got engaged pretty much, about a year after.
year and a half after.
We started dating. Yeah. And so we met on Broadway doing West Side Story. And then Colt was doing How to Succeed on Broadway, and I was doing Smash, and we got engaged. And um, then he got this fabulous opportunity, basically, to kind of give you the quick version. And after a couple months in, we decided, okay, well, we just got engaged. It's really important to us that we spend this year together, or what turned into 2 years, like planning our wedding and being together. And I don't want to be separate from you when we just got engaged, right?
Yeah.
So I have worked forever. I'm tired. I'm happy to come on tour with you. Like, let me come on tour with you. Now, this was a very different kind of experience than I imagined, going on tour with you, because, it's just a different world. The way the concerts move is very different than, shows move, Broadway shows move. Yeah. And so, but like, happy, great, that was fine. I think the thing was that I, in one breath, it was really like beautiful seeming to like put our marriage first and to put our relationship first. And in the very next breath, I completely lost myself, because I didn't like put myself first at all. Like I like chose to be like this second class citizen. And I say that I chose to, because I did. I put myself in that way because I wasn't listening to my subconscious, or what turned into my conscious, being like, are you crazy? Like, I told my agents not to call me. I said I submitted to the fact that I'm not going to work for a year, instead of just keeping myself open and saying, hey, I love you. We'll just go back and forth, and this is going to suck, and it's going to be hard and trying on us. But I think in the long run, it'll be healthier for us to, for me to maintain like my autonomy, and for me to, remember what stokes my fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I really like lost myself, and
in losing yourself, there was also an element of me feeling that I didn't know you had lost yourself to the degree, because I had lost.
I did either, though.
Because both of us were so. The thing about being lost, especially with regards to love or relationships, is that nobody comes out and tells you and is just like, hey, oh my God, it's so good to see you. You're terribly lost.
Right.
And if they do, you can't see that. You can't understand that.
It doesn't happen overnight. So it's not like this visible thing.
Yeah. So I think that's a really important part to kind of touch on, is acknowledging that you are bound to make mistakes. You are bound to lose yourself in relationships. You're bound, hopefully, to find yourselves again, whether in or out of that relationship. But I know for me, excuse me. I know for me, that I lost myself because I was trying to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you got there, I was like, by the time you got there, I had been out there so long that I was like, fit in. Do what I'm just fit in. Just
Right.
fit in.
And I
Come
was
on.
like, this is
And you were like, what are you? And I was like, this is me now, bro.
not us.
Get used to it.
I was like,
I
I don't know
don't,
you,
yeah. And it was this whole thing where we just slowly drifted and drifted and drifted. And then thank God we loved
I
each
mean,
other.
our love truly, though, carried us through because I'll tell you what, the conclusion of
Fuck.
this story
Oh,
did
good. There's a
not have,
conclusion.
no,
Because
it wasn't fully concluded, but the conclusion of like this main problem didn't truly come to a pimple head, to put it in a cute way, because it was quite disastrous until like a year into after we were
yeah, a
married.
year post.
Yeah. So like we loved each other so much and we didn't know how to get back to each other. But I mean, I'm grateful that our love and like passion carried us through. It was probably the most painful time of our entire life.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Because
And we got some bangers and mash on that end.
yeah. But we
Like
could have lost each other like very easily.
100%. But so in retrospect, what do you feel that we did? What do you feel that you did? Because I know exactly when that moment was for me,
Yeah.
that I acknowledged it. And
Well,
then and it also from and I'm so sorry, I
no,
don't
no,
mean
no,
to cut you
no, no,
off, but
please.
it's possible that what will happen to you in this moment is that you'll have waves.
Mm.
And I think this is an important thing to realize. As I started to come back to myself, I came back and I came back to a version of myself. And then I was like, but I don't want to be that thing that I didn't like. And it became such absolutes. And that's why a lot of times you'll hear us say we do our best not to live in too many absolutes.
Right. Well, I think the thing is truly like life is only going forward. Like literally, it can only go forward. So you can never go back to the person you were. You will always be affected by whatever has come your way and that you've experienced. So you can love the things that have, the qualities that you've been in your past, and sometimes it is healthy to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the good, even though it feels like sometimes the worst of times, you've been affected and you are affected literally by those experiences. And so you go forward
Yeah.
with more knowledge and more wisdom, and what you do with that is your choice, right? So like it's so beautiful that we have to be different moving forward, and you take all of these pieces and you
Yeah.
go forward with that. But I think what we did was really cool because we took time to go, hey, we've completely fallen apart.
It didn't sound like that. I just want to make sure, I want to
It
make this
didn't.
very clear.
Oh, it didn't. It
That-
sounded like what?
Like cats
Like
fighting, right?
yes. I mean, if I could paint you the picture, I don't have.
God knows what our neighbors out in LA fucking.
I don't have the sound effect for it, but I have the painting for you. Is like disgusting tears on the bathroom floor for like hours and hours at a time at like all hours of the crack of dawn. You know what I mean? Like that's a picture.
That's a very specific picture, but it is, I will say this, I think there's something, and we do a live show on Tuesdays and another live show on most Sundays. And the live show on Tuesday, we talked about Hollywood tropes and things that rom-coms, what Cosmo magazine thinks, are tropes and rom-coms. But I think that one of the things that most of us miss out on, and what we missed out on, and why we started this channel, is that the first time we had one of those kind of horrible fights, and this is what our first video was about, you can check that out here, but we literally, had you told me we were going to have that fight, I would have been like, well, then we're not meant to be together, because movies and relationships in general are apparently not supposed to have really bad fights. And when you get to a certain point, like if it becomes physical, go fuck yourself. That's not it. That's not what we're talking about. Like red flag city.
But we're talking about fighting the good fight.
Fighting for the right reasons.
For each other.
There it is.
And honestly, whether or not it's sort of like fighting for your best friend. Like whether or not we are meant to be romantically soulmates forever. And I don't just mean you and me, but like anyone I've been with. The arguments we've been in
are to make them better people.
Exactly.
Better versions of themselves.
And ourselves. Exactly. Like and it's like those are the good fights. Fight the good fight. And those are where you'll learn your lessons because you may not be with the person that you're supposed to be with the rest of your life. But don't think just because you're fighting isn't slowly creating you to be the person you're supposed to be. And that's why it's really hard when people speak badly about their exes. Obviously, there's sometimes a lot of pain involved, and I can also, trust me. But the things that I've learned and the things that I pray that my past loves have learned is beyond words, right? Like beyond measure.
But I think that was a fucking great, like, surprise point there that I've never thought of it that way. But when you're having those arguments, are you having the argument to prove that you're right? Or are you having the argument to help them or yourself be better?
Right. Well, now, again, this is where it circles back to what this exact statement was. And let me pull it up exactly. But the first step to a better relationship with your partner is creating a better relationship with yourself. So the more self-aware we are, why are we having this fight in the first place?
Yeah.
Does it come down to, does it really involve you, or does it involve an issue that I'm having with myself? And and sometimes, however the argument pans out, like, let's not get into that. But I will say at that point in our life, during the pink tour, if we want to use that as the example, which I did today. I think
it's a solid example. I love that. That was also right where I went.
Right. Exactly. Because that was one of the hardest growing periods of our life.
Yeah, no, it stands out among the fray.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'm telling you guys this, and I shared it today, and we're open books, as you know.
To a fault.
I'm sharing it because I don't necessarily think I would change anything.
No.
I don't think that
I would wear less sneakers and flat brimmed hats because they just looked ridiculous on me.
I might agree with that.
I would do that less.
And I'd like to say that, yes, looking back, I would do what I know was the right choice, which is what I'm about to tell you. But the point is, would I change it now? No, because I didn't have the insight then clearly to change it. So only from that pain did I learn the fact that I was supposed to do me, you guys. I was supposed to look at you, my fiance, my gorgeous fiance, who was blowing the fuck up, living this life. If you didn't see the pink tour, you missed out, because she was amazing. They were all amazing, but he was a fucking star. And you're so talented, and it blows me away. And I was watching you in the O2 is when it really struck me, in the O2 in London. And my God, to say that my husband played the O2, it was just him and Alicia, and it was stunning. And I was crying because I first started crying because I said, I can't believe we're here in the most epic arena. I think I want to say in the world, that exists right now. I don't know.
Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square, just because of our hearts are
because we live next to it.
Totally. The O2 is so grand. Either way, it was one of the most grand places. Yes, that was also incredible.
I'm with you though.
And I'm crying though, right? I'm watching him, and Alicia's coming down from the sky, and I'm crying, and because I'm so proud of him, I'm beyond. And then there's something in my heart that I felt, and it was rising in me. And it was but you also are craving a sense of validation that you haven't had in so long, because I am also a creative soul, and I have numbed that part of me to sort of keep our relationship together in that
Yeah.
time, because and maybe this was me also projecting what culturally we say, like, well, you have to be a good girl and you just got engaged, so you have to plan your wedding together and you have to do these things. And, so I had all of these like other things in my head. And instead, what really I should have done was stay in New York and visit you and visit each other when we could. We would have made it through a year or two or three. We're fine. We're madly in love, but instead I gave up everything and went to be with you and wasn't doing my craft as well. And so the reason why we are attracted to each other is because we were full circle people, right? So we came to each other with like full circle hearts. And the more that I left myself to save our relationship, I realized that our relationship wasn't full circle anymore. It was lacking because I wasn't full circle. Like how can
Neither
you
was
bring
I.
100% of yourself to the relationship and ask the relationship to be solid when you're not 100%? And that's life anyway. But if I could give any advice looking back, I now know, like, I have to take care of me. I have to put myself first more. I have to love myself more. And sometimes, it's a tricky line, don't you think? Sometimes, because sometimes I see a little bit of selfishness in relationships.
I think that more selfishness is deserved in relationships in but it's situation to
It's
situation.
situation to situation, but
Like
our specific
at
situation.
at that time I couldn't have been more selfish, but you did need to be a little selfish. I'll say this. Selfishness is there's a point between the two of you. There's a
Mhm.
point between the two of you where the perfect selfishness amount of selfishness lies. And sometimes it needs to go over here and sometimes it needs to go here. But if it ever at any point goes over to one side for too long or stays on one side for too long, it becomes toxic. And
Yeah.
that
It has to bounce and it has to share. But I'll also say this, you didn't ever point blank ask me to come out on tour. You never like
I did in Australia.
well, you did, rightfully so. You did. You
I
said you
told I
said
said
do what you
you
want
can
with.
I said you I need I you cannot take this job. I need no, this is you're misremembering it. I
Really?
was I told you. I didn't even ask. That was the worst part and that's what sits so heavy in my heart and in my memory. I called you and I remember the conversation because I was like I need you not to do this because and this is what I said. I can't unhear it. I said, I can't be away from you for that long. And I'm sorry. I didn't even I didn't think of you in that moment in the same way. I thought I'm saying this because we both feel this way, but what I was really doing was protecting myself because I knew that if that job came through
Mm.
and you did that, that I didn't know if I would see you for 3 months. But it wasn't in a romantic way. It was in a very selfish way of being like, no, I I've lost so much of myself and so much control.
It
I
didn't
need
feel like
this.
that. It didn't feel like that. It felt
Good.
like both of us.
It's good
And
to know.
I whether it really was
Well,
that,
then,
or
then it
whether
wasn't that. I was good.
or whether it was that, we both made a choice,
Yeah.
and I realized, and I don't
I
know.
mean, you have always made your choices. Like you
Yeah,
are,
I made a choice that this was
but
best for us. And I think at 27, I didn't have the foresight to see that this was not, it doesn't matter.
no, you're 27 because we got married at 28.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have the foresight to see that this was not good for Angelina, and that means half of this relationship is flailing in the wind. Like,
Yeah.
this is not good. And the thing is, looking back, yeah, I should have done me. I should have kept auditioning. I should have done the shows. I should have
Super
done my
easy to
life.
say though.
I should have like, you know, because at the end of the day, like the most comfortable place for me to be, and I've said this to you a million times, in a time of crisis in my life, which is funny because kind of pertains to right now. Um, the most comfortable place for me to be in the whole world is at a makeup station at 7 p.m. every night, because that means that I'm putting on my eyelashes and I'm stretching and I'm doing my makeup for whatever show I'm about to do. And that for me is has been the stability of my life. That's comfortable and that's what I know and that's my beautiful 9 to 5. And sometimes I've taken it for granted and sometimes I haven't, but it's that constant, right? That's what we know and the most I think in our life, and at least for me, and like,
Oh, I mean,
and at that time, I that was all I prayed for, because I was like, I said I would never take it for granted ever again. And I think that's the truth. And I can say right now that even though COVID's happened and this is like a very sad time for our community, I promise you, it wasn't that COVID made me take it for granted, like that I realized how much I appreciated it. Like I promise you, I've always appreciated it since. I don't know, I'm getting a little slurry, but since that moment, like I don't know what, 8 years ago,
uh-huh.
and I don't take it for granted, and I know that it's precious.
That's what brought us back to ourselves, though, was you being selfish, and I think that's the what I would call the final answer of this video is that I said, what is it you want? Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And you said, I just want to be at my makeup station at half hour, putting on my makeup. That's all I want.
That was me fixing the relationship with
And I was
myself.
like,
In
oh
the
my God, help her do that. How do we do that? But it wasn't about you. I knew that I had a hand in that. It wasn't
right.
just, well, go audition, kid. Like,
Right. No.
it was so much deeper. And
Because you can't again, your relationship though, in
your
order to have
relationship is inextricably linked to yourselves and your
exactly.
happiness and your
And there is
worth.
I am hesitant sometimes though saying be more selfish, because there are sometimes couples that we've witnessed that are unwilling to be selfless at all. So like the idea of someone, of their partner even going on tour in the first place is like not an option. So I think that we were so selfless for each other for so long, and I just, at a certain point, and I don't mean to speak low of myself, but I was like, of course you have to go on this. And of course, like I will sacrifice to an extent whatever part of myself because it's for the good of our relationship. Now, the line though of what you
Yeah.
sacrifice is sort of what you have to feel out, and it's case to
What
case.
you said in that moment is not the issue.
Right.
What happened was you expected I would go on that tour and that I would come back. Even a better version of myself, maybe a newer version. I didn't come back. LA flat brim sneakerhead came back and we waited for the Kobe 9s. And it was like,
It was a lot
and
of
we
things.
bought lawn chairs and it was CrossFit and it was like a whole new thing of being like,
There's a lot more that goes into the story
of course,
than what I could post today
but
on
no matter
Instagram.
what,
But
the microcosm of it is had we gone out on this tour,
yeah.
I could have, had I been separate from you, and even when I got to the tour, I wasn't who I was. I was trying so hard to
Right.
dress a certain way and be a certain thing so that I could fit
But
the
again,
difference.
it's asking someone who is 26 years old who
No,
just got engaged.
I disagree.
You don't think so?
Nope, not even a little.
We're all finding ourselves at that
We're
point
all finding,
still.
of course we are. Well, that, I mean, but then it gets back to the quote that we talked about the other day of we've added 10 years to life, but not to the end of life. We've added 10 years to adolescence.
That's true.
Suddenly
That's
we're
true.
still children at 28, at 38. How long is this going to go on?
You're right.
I had every duty and responsibility to be my best self. We all, in my opinion, have a responsibility to be our best selves at any given time, not to be the versions of, we waste so much time being the versions of ourselves that we think other people want to see, that will make us more important, that will finally give us our satisfaction. And that's not how it works. Yeah. And you were waiting on me, I was waiting on me in a different way. And it wasn't until you were selfish enough to say, and selfish has a negative connotation, and it shouldn't always.
Selfish in a good way, to say that
you were self-aware enough to get back to yourself and go, I will lose my fucking mind if I have to be here anymore and not be with myself.
Right.
You know, there's a disassociative quality to a lot of relationships. We lose ourselves so that we can have the minor comfort of having somebody else in our bed. You know,
100%.
We'll give our whole selves away. And then we wake up, you know, in our case, just, you know, a year or 2 years or however many years later. And you're like, and how many times have we heard this? You look in the mirror and you don't recognize who you see. Yeah. But it's because you don't give yourself away in a chunk. You don't cut off your fucking leg and hand it to somebody. You give them a little bit, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And then one day you wake up and you're like, where did I go? And why we wanted to talk about this tonight is,
but it's not always a malicious thing too. It's not like you were even aware. No. Like you were like, and when I brought it to your attention, I was like, I'm lost. And again, this is the sane version of it, right? Let's imagine like bathroom floor drama.
Let's not imagine that at the moment.
But not in that moment. But like as it came to our attention, it was like, okay, how do I help you? Because I love you more than anything in the world. And I was like, I don't know how you help me out of this. You can't. And what I realized is you actually can't love me out of this. Of all times, like I wanted you so desperately to love me the fuck out of this hole that I was sitting in, and you couldn't do it. It had nothing to do with your love, though. It was that I had put myself there and I had to dig myself out. And I think that's why I love this quote so much, because it's all about the relationship that I had with myself in that time. And we were not the relationship that we are now. And I think you went through a similar thing, but that's for you to talk about on probably another time.
Probably another one, maybe on a podcast.
Yeah, but you went through something similar, and I think until we both were whole, we were not a full circle together. Like there was just, it's impossible, right? And sometimes you find yourself fighting. You're like with your partner, and you're like, this has nothing to. This doesn't even affect you. You like, this has nothing to do with you. This is my insecurity that either I'm projecting on you, or something I'm upset about that I'm projecting on you. But you're always projecting, because in those moments of like pain, we look to each other to like fix it, right? Fill the circle. Well, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And
well, I know for me, one of my large flaws, especially early on, was an unwillingness to take responsibility and to find a way, even if I knew something was my fault, to be like, no, it's not.
Prove it.
Can you prove it? Can you prove that that's...
I'm always saying that.
Of course, because that's what I was on the tip of my lips, on the tip of my tongue. But I think, you know what? I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to cut us off, because we will talk. We will talk forever. And we're going to talk about this anyway when we turn the camera off. But this is going to be a couple of episodes going further into this, because it is nuanced. And the reason we started this channel is that love is fucking nuanced. Love is incredibly hard. Love is incredibly easy. It's incredibly simple. but it is not easy. It is incredibly simple and incredibly hard.
It's incredibly like to feel it is natural, but to do it well is difficult. Like,
woo!
It's, I mean, but that's our story.
Of course, but
we're sharing it because hopefully this can give a little insight to whatever you're possibly going through, or help inform any future situations you're in. Just, I don't know. We're just spreading the love. It's all on the table.
It's all on the fucking table, man.
Open books to a fall, right?
All right,
well,
we're gonna
cheers
to another beautiful day.
One day at a time.
Oh. All right. So if you want to watch more Part of Love, you're just we've got the dating videos up here. Our love story is down here. And if you want to subscribe.
Why do you always do it on your face?
Because otherwise I got to come over here.
Oh.
But then I'm behind the videos. You see,
you can put it on my face next week.
You want to put up, you know face. What?